Buckner's always been a small town. It came into being when two roads crossed near a creek. They used to be old trails. Now they're US 67 and Farm Road 501. Buckner never had a boom and never had a bust. It did have more people once upon a time, but not all that many more than what's here right now. Couple hundred or so. Most folks got a home here because their ancestors had a home here, and it's been that way ever since those roads crossed. It's out in West Texas, so there's not a lot of rainfall. Ranching's possible, though not all that profitable. And there's an oil field under much of the area, so more than a few folks make a living off of leasing their land to a drilling company and getting a royalty check. Price swings can affect earnings, but even in hard times, that check is something that helps to make ends meet. The central business district is all of 3 stores, a gas station, a drive-in diner, and a parts store. That's all. Each on a corner of the crossroads with a house on the 4th. Besides the main roads, there's 6 streets going east and west and 4 going north and south. And that's the whole of Buckner, with a little rectangle covering about 60 acres, if I'm generous. Dallas and Fort Worth used to be impossibly distant. Well, the twin pressures of urban house prices and increased telecommuting have made those cities much, much closer in the minds of many a young would-be homebuyer. And then there's the folks from back east. I saw one of them the other day, driving around in a minivan with New York plates, looking at empty lots and asking questions like they wanted to buy and build on one of them lots. Bobby Horton was there with me when the New York plates rolled by. Bobby said, "Hey, Clark, you got a look on your face like we did when Columbus showed up." Bobby was half Choctaw, all Assiniboine, half Cherokee, and half English. Math did funny things when it got to Bobby Little Bear, and he was right in how he figured it. I'd always thought we were too far out to see the city come to us. "It was just a matter of time, Clark. Just a matter of time. I remember when I was a newcomer here. I came here because disability checks go a lot farther out in the country. Bricks and dirt are cheaper here too. If you don't want to rent, the city's got nowhere to get started." Bobby had come to Buckner 30 years ago, and aside from a few kids that were born here, he and his family were still the new folks in town. I'd grown up here, and I got into doing country music, and I lived a while in Nashville, and I came back to Buckner when I wanted a quieter place to make my guitars. Not everyone wants a Clark Williams guitar, but those who do, well, they keep me in clover, as it were. Changes are coming. Anything we can do about them? Best thing we can do is open arms and welcome them. Better to make friends and hope for the best than to make enemies and get wiped out as soon as we're outnumbered. Well, that's the people part. What about the infrastructure part? If a developer gets hold of a big enough parcel, we'll have too many people all at once for all the utilities and roads we got now. Yeah, that's gonna be the toughest struggle, the planning. That's why we need friends. There's not many of us, and potentially a whole lot of them, and we'll need them to incorporate as a city. Buckner is small. It's a general law town. It's the same kind of law as unincorporated parts of the county. The state of Texas requires 5,000 people for a city to incorporate as a full legal entity. And then the county commissioners have to approve it. I never guessed the activism I did in rural areas was preparing me for this day. And if cars from Dallas and New York are rolling in here on the Buckner roads, you can bet money that folks from there already got their moving vans hitting Oldham and Weiler. More than just Buckner are going to be incorporating. Bobby said, "We don't know what kinds of developments are coming here. Could be single homes on acreage. Could be lots that fit the grid we got going. Could be apartments or condos." Now, wouldn't it be funny if they built up big old apartment blocks with artist impressions of Old West saloons and whatnot on the ground floor? Maybe we should beat 'em to it and add in a bunch of wigwam motels like from the 50s. Or maybe we go the other way and make a huge statue of Crazy Horse scalping General Custer, and when people complain, ask if it would be better if we glorified different losers and put a Confederate general up. Well, as we considered other ways to mess with newcomers, Bobby got serious and said, "We're going to need Bede Mountain with all the changes coming here." Bede Mountain wasn't that much higher than the surrounding plain, but it was over 1,000 feet above sea level, and that's at its summit, so technically it was a mountain. It was also a place that had been sacred to the Comanches once upon a time. With the Comanches driven from the place, Bobby had taken it upon himself to win it back for Native Americans in general. He'd worked hard at raising money to buy that land and was proud that wildlife had a refuge there. He said, "The medicine is felt there in the quiet and stillness at sundown." Bobby said, "Men assume they construct their place. Men assume wrongly. Men do not design their place. Place instead designs its men. The old magic is still here. It won't die. The freeways can't kill it." So, you think we can get the newcomers to build houses like we got around here and not make it all look like Southern California? Maybe, maybe not. But that's not my point. The kind of house or road isn't as important as the person in the house or on the road. We should get with the folks that own the land and talk with them about how they plan to sell it and how those decisions determine the people in the houses and on the roads. We should talk with them about if we want to help folks whose property taxes are about to be more than they can afford. We need to ask where the Walmart will go, where the sewage gets pumped, where the Home Depot and the Whataburger will go. We need to ask them which road will divide the rich from the poor, the Armani shops from the Dollar Generals. We need to ask them where the big fancy houses will go and where the tenement slums get set up. Sound like one of them progressives from the 1900s. You know nobody's going to come in and directly build slums or poor neighborhoods. They build them. They just pretend everything is new and always will be new, and that there won't be any social or economic or racial divisions. And that's so we all smile and act happy to see new buildings going up, and we think that's progress. But over time, the plan for the place reveals itself in divisions. If we're honest about them now, we won't be surprised when they happen. I only say there's progress when there's no poor people in a town. Now, Clark, where's the rich people gonna be in town? I said, Highway 67 is likely as not to be the dividing line. It'll get made into a freeway, and then everything north of it's going to be for the rich folks, and everything to the south, where the floodplain is, that's going to be for the poor folks. And you could also take east of 501, that's going to be a floodplain kind of area too. That's where you put the poor people. And the industry, and the prisons, and the waste treatment, and the landfills. It was brutal how easy it was to think like that, with money and profits driving choices. But if we didn't do anything, if we didn't talk with the rest of the folks in town, that was what was going to happen, or at least something that rhymed with that scenario. Well, Bobby, you want to get the meeting together at your place? Yeah, my place is closest to the cemetery that gets moved or plowed under if we don't have a meeting. They're going to widen 501, and those graves are going to go if we don't plan something else. Am I going to have to move? You know how I like it quiet. This place is going to change. You ain't moving, and neither am I, Clark. Buckner needs all its folk to keep it together. You know that. Yeah, you're right. We all need each other, even the folks that ain't here yet, who don't even know yet that they're coming here. With the right heart, we might be able to share the medicine of Bede Mountain. Let the place make the people who come here.